Hey, babe. Hello, all, and welcome to the Affluent Marriage Podcast. You're listening to one profit coach and one educator talk about living a rich and full marriage through generational wealth building principles, authentic two-way communication strategies, and everything in between to become a couple that lives in love and walks in wealth. Your legacy begins here.
Hey,
happy Tuesday.
it's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday morning.
It's Wednesday.
I'm in mourning today
You're in mourning. Why?
because the summer for an educator is ending, and that means I'm going back to work.
I am not in mourning. I'm happy.
You're like one of those parents in the Target commercials.
Legit. I'm so ready.
It's the most wonderful time.
Literally. And it's like more so like you've noticed I've been waking up late. I've been not as motivated in the morning. The kids are just like
I don't know. I've had children in my bed every morning this summer at 7 a.m.
every single morning.
So I don't know what you mean waking up late.
Well, no. Well, then they get in the bed and then I'm like, okay, and whatever, watch your show. And then I sleep for another hour. And I know some people are like, wow, I wish that was my case. Like my kids are like, get out of bed. So, I mean, like I'm happy, but then it's like, I don't know, like there's something about routine. There's something about routine that is just, I love it and I crave it. And as much as I love summer and the lackadaisicalness of summer, I also just really crave routine. So I'm excited to get back to, we got to get up, we got to get going. Like I go to the gym, I do this, and then I start my work day.
And then you just come home to a quiet house. I get that. That is nice.
I wasn't even talking about the quiet house. I was just talking about the routine. But yes, it will be nice to get back to a predictable routine.
Well, I'm looking for a job
Yes, you are.
because I want to move out.
You know what? There's a lot of things that just happened in the past week since our last recording. And I think people need to hear about it. There's a lot of things we're going to talk about in this episode that might be super revealing, but this is a part of communication and a part of being an authentic, right? Authentic communication. And we're telling you all the things that are happening in between because we're not perfect if you don't know this. Like, yes, we have accomplished a ton, but we're not perfect.
I'm perfect.
Okay. We're going to be making decisions, mistakes, learning from them. And that's just a part of life. So, yeah. But we canceled. We did something really big. So, yes, you're looking for a job. But how did we get to that point?
So I'm looking for a job because I'm trying to accomplish our goals faster.
Yes. Okay. But we got to this point, and he's missing this point. We got here because we were looking at all the things that we accomplished over the past 7 months. It's July, August, 7-8 months. We've done a lot, right? If you've been listening to us, you know that we've renovated the bathroom. We did that in cash. We bought a car. We did that. We, what else did we do? We did a lot of stuff. Like we traveled a lot this past summer and we put a down payment on a Disney cruise. I can say it because my girls aren't here. Because that's the other thing. I can't be like super like expressive because they're here. But it got to this point where we were like, okay, one of our main biggest goals was to get out of this house and start renting it out. We've been saying that for the past year and some change. Last year, as you know, we had some mindset issues on my end. Totally makes sense. We postponed it. This year was our year. We kept saying 2023 is our year. We're going to get it all done. We're going to get out of this house. And here we are about to invest the next amount of money. It's just the way that you have to do it with Disney, into the trip to say we're going on this cruise in December. And as we sat there and we were thinking about it and we were like, we're still in this house. We thought we'd be out by August and we're not. How do we feel about that? And I don't know about you, but I had this vision of us stepping on the boat and this feeling of accomplishment.
Absolutely.
That it was more than just a fun vacation for the kids and us. It was an accomplishment that we had done everything on our list, one of them being renting the space out and moving into a new space. And it was just going to be this moment where I was going to be able to have my beverage of choice, have my Disney wish wand in one hand and my beverage of choice in the other. I'll change my hand position. And I am just like, babe, we did it, right? Like that's the feeling I wanted. Was that the same for you?
Yes. Now, I totally understood where you were going with this conversation, but I don't view this as a mistake.
No,
and
you're
I'm
right.
not.
You're right.
And you even said like we're not perfect. You show me the mistake. I don't see it. Here's what I see. I see two driven people that have the blueprint to be millionaires, and we're sticking to that blueprint. Mm-hmm. We had priorities. We made a list of all the things that we wanted to accomplish this year. We knocked out a ton of stuff on our list, and now we're at a point where we're like, okay, up next on the list was vacation, but we're looking at, does this vacation align with our vision? And at this point in 2023, it does not.
Yeah.
Because we have other goals that we're trying to see accomplished.
You're
so
right.
The trip's not canceled.
Nope. We just postponed it.
The trip was not a mistake.
Yeah.
The trip is the cherry on top. Mm-hmm. It's the icing on the cake. And we're still baking our cake.
Yes.
So
we don't want the cake to be raw, do we?
So we want to move out of this property and rent it out.
Yeah.
So instead of putting $6,000 towards this trip, we're going to put that $6,000 towards this property to get it rented out and to get us out.
Yeah.
So once that's done, in the spring of next year, we're going to be on that boat.
We're going to go.
So it's delayed gratification. There's no mistake.
You're right. It's not a mistake.
So we're still perfect.
You're right. It's not a mistake.
I'm perfect.
Oh, goodness gracious. So we decided to postpone it to May. And when I tell you, right, Daniel was just like, okay, we're postponing to May. I feel really good about this decision. It did not take me that quickly to be okay with said decision. I did not cry, but I felt like it. I was a grumpy.
You were pretty grumpy.
For at least 24 to 48 hours.
48 hours.
48 hours. But I feel so much better now that I'm thinking about it and I see the bigger picture and I'm like, no, this is going to feel so much better. Like, because we're deciding to move into like an April-May time frame of going. And funnily enough, it's like the same price as going for Christmas, which I'm like, is that, I don't know if that's okay. I don't know. Anyway, as much as I love Disney at Christmas, I'm like, there will be other times for us to go at Disney at Christmas. And this decision that we're making is going to make that happen even faster because we'll have a stream of income that's coming in that will be able to do stuff like that even more. So it is a worthy delay.
I've enjoyed hearing people's takes on it because some people are like 100%. This is what successful business entrepreneurs do.
Yes. Uh-huh.
This is how you build your brand. Mm-hmm. You focus on income producing assets. You chase after that. That's your priority. Get it done.
Yeah.
You'll have the experiences. Those will come. But you need to focus on what's going to bring you income first, right?
Yeah.
Build your brand. And then you've got other people who kind of have that Rachel Rogers philosophy that are like,
do
no,
it. Dude, what?
You should be able to have both. You should be able to do this and that.
And in some cases we are doing both. It's just that we're moving the timeline a little bit.
Right.
That's it. So it's not that you can't do both. We didn't say either or. We just said this time frame is going to be pretty tight to put an additional $5,000-$6,000 towards this trip right now when that could go towards getting someone in the house and bringing in an additional $1,000 into our pockets every single month by December. Which one would I prefer?
And this is where the psychology of money comes into play.
All of these books
it's
are
not
coming in.
just about the numbers and the math. It's about when you go to bed at night, when you lay your head on that pillow, what's going to help you sleep better. Mm-hmm. And for us, postponing that trip and moving things up, like renting out this space and moving out, that's going to help us sleep better at night.
Yeah.
If we went on this trip and celebrated and had the time of our lives and watched our girls just be in incredible spirits and celebrate the magic of Disney, yes, we would have felt good. But when we came back from that cruise, there may have been moments of like, did we make the right choice? Did we celebrate too soon?
Yep.
Because we still have work to be done.
Yeah. And everything that you just said. And also, like, there's just so many feelings about this because last Christmas, we said, this is our last Christmas in this house. because in 2023 it's going to
Still
happen.
could be.
It still could
Part-time
be. It
jobs
still
coming.
could be. It still could be. But I'm over here hoping and holding out like, oh no, this is going to be our last one.
We're moving out December 24th,
So,
baby.
but the fact that we didn't even have like we had a plan, but the fact that like if we went on this cruise, we most likely it would have been either super duper tight getting out of this house. It just didn't seem like it was not going to be right for our psyche to do all of that in a short amount of time. That it was just like, I would much rather, even if by December, yeah, maybe we're here for Christmas, but maybe there's stuff in another house, or maybe it's mostly empty, or maybe we already have a tenant that's coming in January 1. That makes me feel a whole lot better than, yeah, going on
Absolutely.
the trip and then being like, man, we still didn't do this. Like, how did we just keep postponing it? It keeps going to the end of the list.
And we did plan, by the way. We had a very detailed plan about how to get to these goals, but we had
Yeah.
almost $10,000 of unplanned expenses happen
Yeah.
this year that we were able to pay for in cash. So our
But-
goals shifted.
Yep, goals are shifted. And so, I don't know, hopefully this kind of like gives you a little bit of a,
Your budget, your plan has to be flexible.
has to be flexible. And you have to take the emotions, right? I'm talking to the people who are like me, who would have been like in your room crying for 2 days.
Which you were borderline.
Not that I did that, but yeah, pretty much. I was really, really pissy for a little bit. But all that to say, like, it's okay. Like you have to be willing to see the bigger picture, and yeah, you have to be willing to see the bigger picture.
I was
there
really
was just
thankful
a lot of guilt
for my
and
mother-in-law
stuff there.
because she was able to sit there and talk to you for 3 hours and I didn't have to do that.
She didn't talk to me for 3 hours.
It was a long time. Me and your dad were just hanging out in the other room.
It was not 3 hours though. It was maybe like an hour. But
I was thankful for it.
I had to keep asking her a question. I was like, Mom, did
You
we
had to decompress, and I was
did,
glad it was her.
But I was like, shut up. But I was like, did we fail? Did we fail because we didn't do everything that we wanted to do by this time? Do I know the answer to that question? Yes. It's just nice to have somebody else say, no, you didn't fail. Like you're actually doing a very smart and, a smart thing. You're not being impulsive about this decision. This isn't a decision you want to be impulsive about. If you wanted to, like easily we could have been like YOLO and just been like, whatever, we'll figure it out later. Then it wasn't that important to us then. But it is. It's been our dream for like 7 years since we bought this house to have this experience. So yeah, like it's important. Make that a choice or make that a priority. So thanks, Mom.
Speaking of failure, there are people
Speaking of failure.
in America who have a rigid philosophy that if they were to ever sign up for a credit card, that would be hand in hand with failure. It would be like simpatico with failure. Whereas there are other people in America who probably haven't seen a dollar bill in the last decade. Mm-hmm. They've been using Cash App and Venmo and swiping and using their phone, and like they don't interact with cash at all. And then you've got people that are in between that do a little this, a little that.
They dip their
So
toe.
today we've got The Great Debate. Not the book, not the movie.
Nope.
The Great Debate. We've got cash versus credit.
This is a fun conversation that it gets everybody heated up, man. If you're a Dave Ramsey lover, you're probably like, no, man, cash all the way. Cash is king. And that's the only thing that I'm ever going to use. And then you have people who are like the people who are, reading the Rachel Rodgers, who are reading the Rich Man Poor Dad and Rich Dad Poor Dad. That's what it is. Who are saying to themselves, oh, no, like leverage debt.
Leverage
You
debt.
need debt. Debt is important. Debt is what makes you rich and wealthy. This is a fun conversation.
I'm not here today to tell you cash is king. I'm not here today to tell you leverage debt. I'm just here today to tell you the advantages and the disadvantages of both so that you can make your own decision. Whatever helps you go to sleep at night
Yep.
and rest your head on that cool side of that pillow. That's what I want.
Yep.
So it's a personal preference,
It is.
right? The decision to use cash or the decision to use credit. It's up to you, but we're going to give you some factors today to
Yes.
consider. First and foremost, the budget.
Guys, oh my gosh. Do you know how many people tell me, well, I use my credit card and I pay it off every single month, so I don't really need to budget. That's my budget. No, that's not your budget. That's not a budget.
No.
Keep going. Sorry. I get really heated up about that.
I'm cool with that. Listen, using cash is an effective way to stick to your budget, right? Your budget is your financial plan. You create that at the start of every month. You check on it every week, every day, however often you check on it. And at the end of the month, you wrap up to see, did I stick to the budget? And you create your next financial plan for the next month, right? Or for the next 2 weeks, however you operate your finances. So cash is an effective way to stick to your budget because you take the cash out for that line item and you use that cash. And when it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
There's no more. Or if there's leftover cash at the end of the week or the end of the month, you're like, hey, I just paid myself. I had excess. I can save that. I can spend that. I can put that into other categories. I get to do whatever I want. So it is an effective way to stick to your budget and to stick to your line items. You can only spend what you have, right? Credit cards, though, can be helpful in tracking your expenses. And they offer rewards programs.
Fair point. Oof. So credit cards are interesting. So in my business, and so I'll be talking about this because this is something that I've had to get understanding of this month. So, or this year. I got a credit card in my business. I know. If you know about Kim, you know I'm like, oh, I don't really like credit cards. Credit cards are, I really prefer cash. But in my business, I got a credit card. And I got a credit card because my assistant, it was easier to pay her that way. She's in the States, but it was just way easier to do it. It got to her way faster. A bank transfer took like 20 days or something. I don't know. And I was like, no, that's not okay because I want my assistant to be paid immediately. So it started with like...
She said immediately.
Immediately. I was saying it fancy. Immediately.
You just stumbled over it, and I had no idea what you said.
Immediately.
It was like when your 3-year-old says something to someone, and you have to interpret. Say, she said trampoline, not trampoline.
I love it. So anyway, I got one. And I was like, all right, I don't really want to do this, but I'll just do this one credit card, or this one swipe, whatever. And I'll do that on a monthly basis. And then I was like, well, I have other things that I pay every single month. Why not just put them on there and I just do the same thing I've been doing and just pay it off every single month? Therein was really something interesting because what was the thing that happened in our bank like docket? Like if you know how when you go to your bank on your website and you can like, go to see all of your banks. We have Capital One. As soon as I got that credit card, there were so many more buttons. And there's so much more like spend this, spend this, spend this, 15% off, get $10 back, get blah, 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 blah. Hey, you earned $400 just because you opened this thing. And I was like, what in the world? Every single thing is like, you can earn money back. The whole scope of our bank account changed when I got that credit card.
It's incredible how much you're advertised to once you opened up that credit card.
It's insanity. Now, one thing that I did notice has stopped. I don't get as many envelopes as credit cards.
Because they know they got you already.
They're like, we got her. She's good. She's in. It's just really interesting to me. So, yeah.
But you can track your expenses if you're using a card, right? You can't really track the same way with cash unless you're saving your receipts and you're writing down like, I spent $24.99 on diapers this month. How many times did I spend on diapers? Like there is an ease of tracking with a debit or a credit card.
Can I argue with that point?
Yes.
You can do the same thing with a debit card, right?
Yes.
If the ease of a credit card is the fact that it's electronic and you can go back and you can like track everything that you spent, well then why not use actual cash and use a debit card, right? So in my mind, I think that, in the great debate of credit versus debit of cash, I think cash can also be synonymous with debit, with a debit card. So I think there's different ways that you can organize it so that it is easier to track using a debit card. But there might be some things, which I know that we're probably going to talk about later. Travel, going to, like when we go to Cancun, that's still happening. That was a business expense. We'll be able to use a credit card because I'm in a foreign country. Well, not foreign, but I'm in a different country. I don't want to use my cash. Like I don't want to use my debit card, right? So I understand that people have like those like they don't want to be in a fraudulent situation. So I think there's times when it makes sense.
Let me do this. Let me tell you where we're going in this episode, and then you can decide when you want to talk about things.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Because I don't want you to hold something in your back pocket and be like, "Oh, we never
talked
went
about
there."
that. Okay.
So let me tell you where we're going. Okay.
He doesn't tell me notes, guys. I just hop on.
You
He's the
truly
host.
do. You
I am the
truly do.
co-host.
I design where we're going, and I just take you there.
Yeah. I just along for
This
the
is
ride.
magical. It's like if I were like, "Babe, let's go take a trip."
You're Aladdin and I'm Jasmine.
Yes, jump on this carpet ride. I can show you the world, and I'm about to show you the world.
Okay. Okay.
So let me tell you where we're going. So number one, and people can follow along too, right? So they can see where we're going. Numero uno.
Follow along.
We're talking about budgeting, right? Credit versus cash with budgeting. Then we're going to talk about convenience. The convenience of credit cards, the convenience of cash. Then we're going to jump into interest rates.
Oh, okay. Okay.
After interest rates, credit score.
Okay.
And then finally, we'll talk about fees. And that's the show.
So that's Daniel's way of saying, Kim, shut up, stop talking so we can get through all these.
There's five things that we're discussing. I'm just saying if one of those didn't stand, because you said you were going to hold it because maybe we talk about it later. Is what you
Okay,
said.
got
Those
it,
were
got
your
it,
words.
got it.
I didn't want to get to later and you'd be like, oh man, there was no opportunity to talk about that.
Got it. Okay.
Does that make
Understood.
sense?
Yep. Got you.
Okay.
But also he was saying, shut up, Kim.
Listen. So your argument was debit cards can offer that same comprehensive recording of your purchases.
Yes.
To make it easier to analyze your spending. 100%.
Yep.
Credit cards, though, do offer rewards programs.
Yes.
Where debit cards don't do that. Although back in the day, man, like 10 years ago, we had those debit cards from Capital One and we were spending with our debit card instead of cash and we were racking up points and we were getting gift cards
we
to
were getting
restaurants.
gift cards and
we'd cash out at the end of the year.
I was so mad
It
when they got
nice.
rid of that program.
And then they were like, hey, if you enjoyed that, you can do that same thing, just not with a debit
credit card.
Yeah, do it with a credit card.
Really?
So they do
Seriously?
offer those rewards programs, and you can add those up over time, potentially save some money, get some funds for travels, for purchases, as long as you're,
I think, okay, we're about to talk about that here. Like when we talk about rewards programs, this is where people get caught up and they stick there. And this is their only sticking point when it comes to, I have to use a credit card because I want the rewards. And I just feel like it's very similar to, you're that kid that's sitting at the claw and you're just like, they're going to give me rewards.
What is the claw?
You know the claw game where you put the coin in and the claw goes down the claw and it picks up something and it puts it in the dispenser and it gives you a gift?
Yes, I do know that game.
Okay.
I just didn't know if everybody understood what you're talking about.
Got it. Okay. Well, if they didn't know the claw, then I don't know what's going on. Why haven't you seen Toy Story? But anyway, so I feel like
Or Bluey.
Or Bluey. That's true. Bluey does that too. Anyway, so rewards programs. So I think a lot of people kind of envision it that way. So they keep using it because they're like, if I meet this next goal, I can get this next reward. And it turns into like an adrenaline rush. And that's where I have an issue. That's where I'm like, watch yourself, right? So we're talking about responsible credit card usage, which is the next point. It's important to use your credit cards responsibly. Listen, your cash in this respect is going to be the thing that helps you be able to get from one place to another. It's the most important asset that you can take care of. So in my opinion, I think it's important to, your cash is first. We're not going to go into debt unnecessarily because of a reward. That's to me is silly. Or spend something extra that we didn't need because we're so close to earning a reward. That to me is silly. That's not responsible. That's not wealth building principle at all. So when you have an understanding of your budget and where your money is going, if you're the type of person that needs to use your credit card every single month or wants to use it because you want to rack up rewards, cool. But be responsible about it. One way is to say, you know what, all of my recurring expenses, I'm going to put on the credit card, which is what I did with my business. All of my recurring expenses go on the credit card. I know exactly how much that is. It's the same amount every single month. I pay it off with my cash every single month. I'm never carrying a balance, right? So when you do that, it's responsible credit card usage. That allows you to be able to say, okay, I'm still racking up rewards. And when I just got a $200 Amazon gift card as a result of my rewards.
You could have
And
never got that with cash.
I could not. No, I mean, I couldn't because it's extra. Like it was just because I opened the card, which I was like, okay, whatever. So yeah, you can get those types of rewards, and that's great. But I'm not going to play the game where I'm like, oh my gosh, if I just get this extra thing, I'm going to be able to do even more. I'm going to be smart. Can your actual cash flow income handle that? So be smart.
Right. The only way you earn rewards is by interacting with the credit card. You have to accumulate expenses in order to earn the points. Cash is not sexy in that way because it does not earn any rewards. There's no, hey, you get this if you spend this. Your cash is your cash, and that's it. But with cash, there is no overspending, right? There is no, oh, wow, if I just spend $200 more, then I get this. Like, there's nothing,
If there's nothing there to take $200 from, you're not going to do it.
right. There's nothing pulling you in to say, hey, you have to spend your cash, right? You get to spend it whenever you want. And there's something about seeing your cash go that it's like, oh man, I'm running out.
Yes.
I don't have more. With a credit card, it's like, oh, well, I'm only $200 away from these points. So if I just spend
And
the
I have a
$200,
balance. Like I don't have a balance.
I have the available funds or
Yeah.
the available
Limit.
debt to go into, I can do that. So I get that.
Yeah.
Cash isn't sexy in the regard that there's no rewards. Credit cards do have those rewards, but you do have to interact with spending. And the concern there is if you go too far with your spending, which most Americans do.
Yes. And let me tell you how easy it is to make that happen. Okay.
Like if I only spend $50 more, I just fill up my gas tank, spend that $50 more. If I only spend $50 more, then I get this amount of reward for flight tickets. So it's like encouraging like, oh, go spend
So then you can spend more.
so that you can earn that reward. Like otherwise you probably wouldn't have spent that money. Now I know I said gas tank, people probably would say they do that anyway, but the point is you might go spend money because you're close to a reward
Right.
that you wouldn't have spent.
But you wouldn't have normally spent if you had cash. And that's the part that you really have to like weigh, and it messes with your mind as a person who is a spender who is like, oh yeah, like it messes with your mind.
Convenience is the next point. Credit cards are hands down more convenient
Agreed.
than carrying around cash, right? You got your one card or it's on your phone, right? You got that one app. It's a lot easier than going to the bank, withdrawing money every week or every 2 weeks and carrying it around and throwing it into envelopes to, say these are my categories of spending. It's a lot easier. It's a lot more convenient, especially for online purchases.
Yes.
So for you, what do you have to say to that, to convenience?
So I think credit cards are convenient. I also think that you could say the same for your debit card. You can link a lot of things nowadays to your bank, but that also opens you up for fraud and opens you up for other liabilities. So I say the same thing that I would say even for that is that, yeah, you could use your debit card. Like, I mean, if you plug it up to things like Amazon, PayPal, okay, well, there's only two things. Now, if you're online shopping at all these random, weird websites, you might want to get a credit card. But if you're just shopping at like one or two places, then no, you'll be fine with your debit card. So I think, it is nice to have flexibility there. But once again, like, it's not that we're just using the credit card. Like, I can't tell you how many people tell me that, oh, I went to, like, they're going back over their expenses and they're like, I went to Amazon, but I don't know what I got from Amazon. I think Amazon does that on purpose. Like, you just see Amazon, and you have no idea what you bought. And so my clients are like, I don't remember going to Amazon this much. How did I spend this much on Amazon? And then they go back to their reports and they're like, oh yeah. Then they have these moments of, did I really need that? I don't really know. So I think it is convenient, but you also need to, this goes back to that budgeting thing. Just because it is convenient doesn't mean that we should just be willy-nilly with it. Like, you got to make sure you track it as well.
Right. 45% of Americans carry a balance into the next month. Meaning
Wow.
they're not paying off. Almost half of Americans are not paying off their credit cards at the end of the month.
Wow.
But almost everyone you talk to will tell you
Oh, that they do.
that they do. Oh no, I'm responsible. I'm responsible with my credit card. I pay it off. But so here's where it kind of negates all the stuff that we just talked about. Rewards are great. It's great to work towards rewards, but if you're not paying off your credit card at the end of the month, well, now you're dipping into interest and your and
Yes,
fees and things like that.
yep.
And that's kind of eating away at whatever potential rewards you were working towards. So
Yep.
it kind of negates that. But go ahead.
I'm just saying there's so many excuses that I hear too. Everything that you just said, there's an excuse for it. And so you probably are listening to it and you're like, well, I have to shop at these other places and so I'd rather have a credit card for that. And what if somebody hacks into my bank account so it's better for me to have a credit card? And, I pay it off every single month. I do. I pay it off every single month, except a couple of times, like it happens. But, but at least I have 0% interest. And because I have 0% interest, it really isn't that big of a deal. It's just rolling over. Like we're creating excuses for our lack of managing our money.
It is nice though. Credit cards do have fraud protection. They do have built-in. A lot of cards come with built-in fraud protection features. So if there is like an unauthorized charge that occurs, you can dispute them and avoid being held responsible.
Yeah.
And it can be anxiety-inducing to walk around with a ton of cash in your purse. We are people that withdraw money from the bank, and I will tell you that when that first time you withdraw that cash and it's in your wallet or it's in your
it
car,
feels so weird
before you get home. Like it's something about holding your grocery money.
Yeah.
In total.
But I feel like such a boss man. That's like a wealthy flex.
Yes.
When I pick up
It is both emotions.
$400 in cash
For your
and I'm
2
just
weeks.
like, yo, put it in my purse. But yes, I am always also afraid that someone's going to see me taking out the 400 and they're going to try and be like, you just got money out of the bank. Give it to me. So yes, both of those things are important.
So you do protect yourself from identity theft. Identity theft is not a joke, Jim. By withdrawing that cash and using cash instead of your card. But cards do have built-in fraud protection. Also, we do encourage you to get identity theft protection. That is something that we pay for every single month. And there have been multiple times that they've sent me an email to say, hey, you should update your passwords to these accounts. And I've done that and we've been fine.
Yep.
So because they've reported, that
there's been activity
or, there was an issue with Capital One or there was an issue with something. So just go ahead and change that to stay ahead of it. So it's been great. And if anything happens to any of our money, they will do all of that for us. It's a lot of work to recover all that information and to protect yourself. So identity theft is definitely something you should consider.
Yeah, for
All right.
sure. And that might help you as well with that convenience issue. Like, the fraud protection if you have that identity theft.
Right. You were talking about travel earlier. Credit cards can be helpful during travel or in those emergency situations. They can provide that convenience of payment when you're away from home. You might need quick access to funds.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All of what you're saying, I'm like, yep, you're right. It is more convenient in that regard. I agree with that. I would much rather have a credit card or a different type of way to pay for something if I'm in a different country than with actual cash. Absolutely.
And like you said, there's always the debit card.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I will say, I remember when I was back in the day when I was 25 and I was getting a rental car because we were going to a wedding. Had I had a credit card, I think it would have been very convenient. I think I would have been able to just grab and go.
Yeah.
Because I was using a debit card, I had to show like 3 different forms of ID. I had my driver's license and I had my debit card and I had one other form of ID, but I was missing something. So I had to go back into the airport and basically get
the ticket.
That's what it was. That had my name on it to prove and validate that I am who I am. So
and that you're coming back.
I will say I did have to jump through quite a bit more hoops in order to rent that car.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I was still able to rent it. I didn't need a credit card to rent the car, which a lot of people say you need a credit card for. You don't.
It just takes
but
a
I
lot
did
more
have
time.
to jump through a few more hoops.
Not only that, but like, okay, so if we're talking about collectively in our last 12 years of marriage, there have only been 3 instances, one being the business situation I just mentioned, but there's only been 3 instances where a credit card might have been useful, right? So there was the business situation, there was that rental car situation.
And that's convenience.
Right. Convenient. That's what I mean. Like convenient, like that would have been helpful. And then when I went to St. Louis earlier this year with my mom and I wanted to rent a car and I needed to have all of these things. And I was dead set on not letting my mom use her credit. I was like, no, I'm going to do it, Mom. I want to be a big kid. And it was more than just that. I had to put down like they had to put a hold of like $800 on my card, like on my debit card. So they had to put in hold of $800 on my debit card. Then they had to take out the actual amount, and then they needed all these forms of ID and the ticket to get the car out. So that held up the cash that I was going to use for that trip, because now they took that out, right? So I was like, oh, I was not expecting them to put a hold on my card like that. And so, I mean, we were still able to be fine, and I still was able to do what I wanted to do, but I was like, that was cash that was not meant for you. But if I had a credit card, I wasn't going to use the credit card at all. And I could just, so I feel like we'll probably get to like behavior and stuff like that. And you have to know who you are.
But it would have been convenient.
But it would have been convenient in those situations.
A credit card that it could tie up that money that would never get used. But it would free up your money, and then it would just be there on the side being tied up.
Yeah.
And if something were to happen to the vehicle, ding, scratch, dent, whatever, and you had to cover that, then you would just pay that off from the credit card.
Exactly. But I mean, and we would have had the cash for it, but it just would have been way more convenient is the word we're going to use.
Well, like you said, that's two rental cars in our 12-year marriage.
So
your marriage may be different, but
that's it.
That was it for us.
That was it. So, in that realm of things, are we saying that it's like, oh, that's reason enough to get a credit card and use it all the time?
You got to decide for yourself.
That's a personal decision.
So interest rates.
Yeah.
Right. If you carry a balance on your credit card, which I said 45% of Americans, almost half do, you're going to likely will pay interest charges. In this case, using cash or a debit card may be more cost effective. So I said cash isn't sexy. It's boring. There's no rewards program. There's no incentive to spend, right? Your cash is your cash. But if you're like half of Americans and you're carrying
a balance
over at the end of every month and you're paying interest on that credit card, well, forget the rewards program. Mm-hmm. Whatever you've earned, you've lost.
Exactly. And that's the thing that people don't want to. I was looking at my credit card statement, and it's really funny because it had a balance of like, $2,600 on it, because that's what I paid off. But anyway, it said you can pay, or you can do 26. If you wanted to pay this off, it actually gives you like a chart, and it tells you this is how much in interest you're going to pay. So over the course of however many months that they're recommending that you pay this off, if you just pay the minimum amount, like $50, then over time you're only going to pay like $3,600 and something, whatever. Or I don't know how much it was. And I was like, interesting. This is so interesting to me. The fact that they literally put it, do you guys look at your credit card statements? They literally put it on there, how much money you're having to give to them as a result of not paying off your credit card. And then the funny thing is, people still look at that and go, but I got a reward. like, no, that doesn't, it's like in the midst of like this, that's not good. They like hit you with something that's like exciting. Like, here, do you want a reward for something? Why don't you go buy yourself something pretty and we'll give you 10% cash back. And then there's something else that you can use. You can actually use your rewards, and there's actually a way that you can use the rewards to pay off the balance. So then you're not actually using the rewards. You're getting cash back to use it on a balance. Like, do you see the circle that's being created? And the thing that's funny is that, I'm sorry, there's just so many things that I'm finding as now that I've not had a credit card since I was 20, 21. So this is a whole new, like, whoa, a whole new world.
Sticking with the Aladdin themes.
I know. I was like, I'm sticking with Aladdin, because if I had like, I don't know how many points that I had, and I could use it on a credit or use it on a, plane ticket, and it was like maybe worth like $400, and I was like, oh, okay, that's like a plane ticket somewhere. I could use it on a gift card, and I could get up to like $400 in like rewards from a gift card. And I was like, okay. I was like just curious, poking around, what would it look like if I wanted to get cash? Like, I just wanted the cash back. That's it. And I just wanted them to basically withdraw my rewards, exchange it into cash, and give it to me. Do you know how much I could get in cash?
How much?
Like $200. And I was like, oh, you reward me for being a consumptionist. You're rewarding me for consuming another business, because it's a whole global business. They want to reward other businesses. So they're going to give you more money. Your money is going to be worth more using it to purchase things. That's where your money is going to, like, what is that doing to our psyche? Like, what is that? So anyway, when it comes to the interest charges, that's what we're getting back to. It's just really important to just like think about the bigger picture. Is it worth it? I wanted to go into Missy Elliott for a hot second, but I didn't.
Right. Well, look, when you pay with cash directly from your bank account, you're using money you already have, which eliminates the risk of debt.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can you go into debt with the cash from your bank? Like, if you're just using the cash that's in your bank account and that cash runs out, is there any way to go into debt?
Mm-hmm. Nope, you just overdraft.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, if you're withdrawing cash from the bank account and you withdraw too much, you can overdraft. So that's a way to go into debt with cash. But even that, like, you're not going to overdraft. Maybe you do if you're not paying attention. Mm-hmm. But who's taking? I mean, you can only take out how much from the bank? Like $600 for the day?
Yeah, something like that.
So the most you're going to overdraft is like $600?
I mean, that's if you decide to spend $600. You would know immediately. Do you know how many alerts your bank would tell you? Like, hey,
right,
you've overdrafted.
Hey, you've overdrafted. Right. So my point is, you're basically, if you use cash only, then you are eliminating the risk of going into debt.
Yes.
It's almost impossible to go into massive amounts of debt.
If you just stick to cash.
That's
so true.
I'm not saying you can't go into debt because, like you just explained, the overdraft fee for, like, at the most you can withdraw $600 for the day.
Yeah.
Right? But it's virtually impossible. You're eliminating all risk of debt if you stick to cash only. Just a thought.
Just a thought.
You avoid those interest charges, and you can't really go into debt.
I think right here is really important, your last point here, which is making the best choice for you.
How are you going to tell me what my last point is?
I'm sorry.
I might have more.
You might
go
have
ahead.
More. I'm just saying making the best choice for you. Because ultimately, this is a tool that is reflective of your spending habits.
All these points.
If you have a spending habit and you know you have a spending habit, then it's probably not a good idea for you to equate your shopping sprees with your credit card, because you know yourself. That's just you protecting you from you, right? It's not the credit card's fault that you spent too much. It's not your debit card's fault that you overdrafted. You are the person who is in control of that thing. So either you need to decide to eliminate and say, this is not what it's used for, create boundaries for yourself, understand that, hey, there might be some usefulness to having this credit card. And so for that, I don't mind having, some of my expenditures here because I do like the example, or I like having a little bit more of the rewards. That's how my husband and I go out on our nice dinners. Like, I don't know. Cool. Make a plan for that. That's very clear. But ultimately, you know yourself best.
Money is a tool, right? If I take a basketball and I put it in your hands or my hands, that basketball is going to be worth its value. It's going to be worth about like $20.
Yeah.
Buy it from Target. Or if you're buying some expensive basketball that you're going to use in like an official game at $80, okay? That's what it's worth. You put a basketball in LeBron James's hand, all of a sudden now it's worth $80 million, right? Mm-hmm. You put a golf club in my hand, somehow you lose money.
Yeah.
You put a golf club in Tiger Woods' hand, right? It's worth millions.
Yeah.
Okay. Same thing with a credit card. You put a credit card in a master's hands, right? They're going to leverage that debt. They're going to be successful with it.
Yeah.
Same with cash, right? But half of Americans are showing that they do not have mastery with a credit card. They're carrying over a balance every month. They're losing money. So it's a tool. Credit card, it's a tool. Mm-hmm. It's not the reason, like you said, you're going into debt. You can't blame the credit card. You can't blame the cash.
Nope.
It's you.
Yep.
You have to be a master of your money.
Mm-hmm. I think we hit something really good there, because it truthfully is up to you. And if you feel like you get to the end of a statement or a quarter or a year and you're like, where's my money? How did it get to this way? You can't point to anybody else but yourself.
No.
You're the only person who's using it. Now, if you have a spouse, we talked about this another time. It could be you and your spouse, but it's kind of a personal thing.
There's no magical lamp. There's no 3 wishes.
No.
Right? At the end of the day, you got to be proud of your boy.
I love it. That was the last one was trying hard.
It is.
but-
It was. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was a little reaching.
But you got to be who you are, right?
Yeah.
Jasmine's not going to fall in love
No.
with that fake prince.
No.
Where's he from?
What? The fake prince?
Yeah.
I don't know. Different.
Oh, it never
Country?
says what land he's from.
No. I don't think it
Interesting.
does. But all right, credit scores.
But she fell in love with Aladdin.
Okay.
The
street rat.
The street rat.
Uh-huh.
That's right. Proud of your boy.
Proud of
Be who you are.
yeah.
I don't even know where I was going with
I don't
that.
know where you were going with that either.
All right. Credit score. So another argument for cash versus credit card is the credit score, right? Using credit cards responsibly can help you build that credit score, which is a score that you develop by interacting with expenses and debt. So this can be important for future financial opportunities, such as getting a loan or a mortgage.
Yeah. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I don't praise the credit score. I'll just say that. But
But you can't deny that it exists.
I can't deny. Yep, I can't deny that it exists, which is why I'm not that person who's going to, in our personal world, I am not going to use this credit card and say this credit card is going to be the thing I use for every single purchase under the sun because I am praising the rewards. No, it'll just be used for the recurring expenses that I have on my business. That's it, right? As a result, it builds my credit score. Honestly, that's the only thing that I was like, oh, okay, cool. It'll build our credit score. That'll be nice because we do want a house eventually. And before this, we don't really have a credit score. So it'd be nice to have something at least to show for it.
Let me say this.
But I don't really care.
When you are, because you're about to be a property manager or own a property, and you're going to be
Yes.
looking for tenants, something that you're going to strongly consider when you're looking at those tenants is what?
Their credit score.
Their credit score. And if they have a terrible credit score, are you going to consider them?
No.
Not at all.
Yeah.
So you are going to be looking for somebody that has an incredible credit score. So if you're out there and you're looking to rent and you're looking at a private landlord, if you have a bad credit score, that is going to impact you.
Yeah.
If you have no credit score, that is going to impact you.
Yeah.
They might turn you away if you have
Yeah.
a poor or no credit score,
Yeah.
because I certainly will.
Yeah. And that's a really good point too, because again,
I need to know you're going to pay me.
we understand, right? Those of you who are in Dave Ramsey, like persona land, that is something that he preaches, to not have a credit score and eventually having a score of 0. And that's good if you're willing to go, if you're buying a home, you're going into underwriting, you're
Manual
able to,
underwriting.
and you're able to do that. It makes sense because you're buying a home. Cool. That's fine. But getting into places like getting an apartment, you kind of need those types of things because that's the language that they're using to ensure that you understand what you're doing with your money.
There
So
are
I
ways-
think so in that regard, again, this is not an example, or this is not a way that you're going to say, oh, well, then I have to get a credit card, so I must just spend everything on my credit card. Like, be smart about it, right? So again, using those recurring expenses, or whatever, and just saying, this is all I'm doing and I'm being responsible with saying that that's all I'm doing will build the credit score to a point where you are able to rent a car, rent out an apartment or a townhome or whatever it happens to be for you. So it gets you what you want. Those are the big things that I'm like, that's the reward that I want. I want to be able to walk into an apartment complex and they say, yeah, we'll take you. You have everything we need. Not, ooh, I get an extra 30 points and I get to go. Like, no, that's not the rewards that I'm going to try and praise, right? So be smart about
Right.
it.
You can still find a place to rent without a credit score. If you can prove your income and
Yeah.
prove that you have that salary coming in week after week, then they're going to take you.
Yeah.
You just have to prove it.
Yeah. And it does take a little bit longer. So you just got to be willing to play the game.
But my
either way.
argument is that, yes, when we are looking to rent out our private property to someone, we are going to want to make sure that they have proven that they can make the payments on time every time.
That
That's
they
what
are
I want to see.
responsible. Yeah.
If you're not responsible and you're one of those, half of Americans that carry a balance over every month because they're not making their payments in full, I don't want you.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah.
So I will be very stingy and strict when I'm looking for people to come into
Property
my
manager
property, because I
Dan
just don't
on
want to
the
get
case.
into
Yeah.
the hassle. I don't want to chase people down. I want responsible people.
Agreed.
So again, a healthy credit score opens the doors to a lot of financial opportunities, right? You can get loans for major life events like buying a home or financing a car, which is interesting because, people interact with debt and pay off their debt as much as possible to get the biggest loan possible so they can get the biggest debt possible. It's kind of funny when you say it like that, right?
When you do,
I spend all this
just-
time building my credit score as high as possible so that I can go and get the biggest loan possible. No, that's
See,
not responsible.
But see, yeah, don't get the biggest loan possible.
So
that to me is
It's irresponsible to go out there and get too much house or to get too much car. So to build this great credit score, like to get this big loan, like that's not
not the goal,
responsible.
right? The goal is that you're able to get something that is, and I'm even scared of using the word comfortable, but you want it to be something that's easy to be in your budget. You don't want to strain the dollar because whatever you bring in, like that's what you got. And then you don't want to strain that too far because then you'll feel like you're a slave to the credit card. Like that's the only way that I can keep things going is if I have the credit card to pay my bills. And that's not a place that's a dangerous place to be.
All right, we are moving on to fees. So some credit cards charge annual fees or transaction fees, which can add to your expenses. Make sure you read the terms and conditions when you're signing up for a credit card. Those like 20 pages that they say before you click to agree.
Goodness gracious. Yeah, they're really, really long.
Make sure you go through and actually consider, hey, if you don't want to read it, just Google search like the
What
card
things do
that
I
you're
need
going to
to
sign up.
know?
Like, give me the TLDR, too long didn't read for this credit card.
Yeah,
And it'll
that's a
break
good
it
idea.
down for you and tell you. But that's something to consider and understand and know the fees before you get involved with any credit card.
I think it's also important, like I have a credit card through Capital One that does not have fees. And it's 0% interest, which I'm like, whatever. But I like searched for that one and I totally could have. Now it was super, super tempting to get a Disney one or to get a Southwest one because I'm like, I go on flights all the time or I want to go to Disney. Like this is a really great way to do it. You can get some really nice discounts on stuff, right? But I was like, no, I don't want to pay the annual fee. But if I'm not going that often, right? Or it's just not worth it, right? To me, because what I want is peace of mind. I value my peace of mind more than that. So it's important for me to make sure that we have something that has no fees, something that has 0% for as long as possible, and literally just gives me, I'm not looking for a huge amount anyway. Like even if they offered me, I remember that the thing that I wanted, I just wanted $5,000. That's all I wanted. And they offered me something that was 2 times the amount that I asked for. And I was like, no, I didn't ask for that. Right. And you think it's a gift. Like, wow, I'm worth more. You're giving me double what I asked. That's a trap. Because they want you to see, well, look, we're giving you more so you can spend more. It's okay. Use all of it. I didn't ask for that. Like, I want the lowest amount possible that you can give me for a credit card just so I can handle quick stuff. I don't want to be that. No, heck no. So it's just really interesting how when you really, really sit and think about it, how the whole system works.
As an educator, when we design curriculum, we design it with the end in mind, right? We focus on that first, and then everything we do with our curriculum building is to get to that ultimate goal, right? So the same thing is true with a credit card. When you sign up for that credit card, if that's what you choose to do, sign up with the end in mind. For you, the end goal of the credit card, the reason you signed up, the end goal was what?
The end goal was to pay for expenses.
Your client, right? Like
Yes.
your expenses is
My
not your
assistant.
client, your
Assistant.
your employee
To pay my employees.
to get her the cash faster because it was taking like 21 days
That
for it
was
to transfer from your bank account to her account. With a credit card, it's pretty much instantaneous.
Yep.
Right? So you already had the cash for that. It was just it expedited the process
Yep.
significantly, which is your reasoning. So my point is when you're looking to sign up for a credit card, if that's what you choose to do, then you need to have your end goal in mind. Like, why are you signing up for this card? Is it to build your credit score so that you can get a better loan? If that's the case, then make sure you're interacting with it wisely.
Here's the thing too. I'm going to interrupt you really quick because that beginning with the end in mind is really important, as you said, because what do people normally get credit cards for?
The rewards.
No. When someone give them a credit card at 18, it's not for the awards.
Oh, it's so that they can buy stuff.
No, it's not even
afford.
that. No. When your parent gives you a credit card at 18.
Oh, man. My parents never gave me a credit card at 18.
Oh, mine did. But what do they tell you? Only use it for emergencies.
That's
And
true.
that's what a lot of people get credit cards for. It's for an emergency. We have to have the conversation about what is an emergency. Whenever we talk about that with the kids, it's always, or, whenever I hear people talking about it with their kids, it's like, if you're stuck on the side of the road, if you need to get a new tire, if you need to stay at a hotel really quick because you're stranded somewhere, right? These are all very offhanded. We hope nobody ever has to experience these types of things. They are very rare. How did we go from use it for emergencies, never figuring out what an emergency is, like never pinpointing it, or even just like mine said, use it for gas. Just it. That's it. Use it for gas, use it for emergencies. That's it. How did we go from use it here and our parents telling us or trying to, or maybe not telling us exactly what an emergency is to, I got a new pair of Jordans. How did we go? And nobody gets the credit card with the intention of getting into debt. No one gets a credit card and says, I'm not going to pay this and I'm going to accrue so much interest and I'm still going to get these rewards and whoop-de-doo, it's going to be amazing. Nobody gets a credit card with that end in mind. What was your initial, where did it go wrong for you? Where did things, was it because it wasn't very clear in your distinction of responsibility that you were like, I am only using it for this, this, and this, and that is it?
I just think it's funny that credit cards, now I know you did extensive research on this, you found this fascinating, but credit cards came out
Oh, yeah.
in the 1950s?
Yeah, 40s or so. Yeah.
Okay. I just think it's fascinating that our parents or your parents, who are probably terrible with money, told you to only use a credit card in case of emergencies. And credit cards were young at this point when this is going on. And where did they get this from their parents? Probably not.
No.
Your grandparents did not tell your parents
To use a credit card
in case of emergency. They probably said, have an emergency stash of cash.
Yes.
Under your mattress,
bed. Yep.
under your bed, right? So then somewhere along the lines, the philosophy changed.
Yeah.
It went from mattress cash to credit card for
Yeah.
emergencies. So it's when a problem happens, use money you don't have.
Yeah.
Right? So instead of saving up for emergencies,
Yeah.
stowing away cash for when stuff happens, use money you do have.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Isn't that interesting?
I don't like the idea. If you're using an emergency, if your credit card is your emergency fund, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Because you're using money you don't have for problems, and then how are you going to pay that off at the end of the month?
Exactly.
So that's
It's
where
not going to give you that much
your balance is going to carry
peace.
over.
Right. It's not going to give you that much peace because now you're going to have to be on the line of paying that off. And if you don't even know what you're doing with your cash in the first place, you're screwed. Excuse
Yeah,
my
so
language.
if you're end goal in mind, if you're using your credit card to pay your employees faster, if you're using your credit card for the rewards and you're responsibly paying it off at the end of every month, if you're using your credit card for the convenience for rental cars, or if you're trying to build up a credit score so you can rent somewhere, or I can see responsible reasons to have a credit card.
Yeah.
In case of emergency is not it.
Yeah.
Not for me. Mm-hmm. Some may differ. They might have different ideas in mind. Not for me.
Yeah.
I would rather have
An
cash,
emergency fund.
an emergency fund, $1,000 or more. I mean, $1,000 initially until you can get up to 3 to 6 months.
Yeah. Yeah. But I find that really,
Wow.
really crazy because what happens is the origin, I guess, of it is kind of like a mob story almost, you would, I'm
You're talking
gonna
about credit
get
cards?
I'm gonna get all of that wrong. So I'm gonna talk about it another
No, I
time.
remember it was
But
about a quarter ago, 3 months ago, you did this extensive research
I
on credit
did.
cards because it was fascinating.
Yeah, it really was fascinating because I was like, how did this even start? But it did start with people being like, wait a second, I don't like that.
Just like loan sharks.
Yeah, like loan sharks being like, wait, I want to be able to take advantage of this. I want to be able to take advantage of people who are saying, I need
Tired
this
of
right
breaking
now.
legs.
Right. I'm tired of breaking legs. I want to live a life that's a little bit more, I can still swindle people, but it's, it looks nicer. So people will say, hey, I really want this. We'll give you money for it. But if you don't, I'm going to come and get after you. But instead, we created a credit card that kind of does it for you in a different way and keeps you encapsulated by saying, we have rewards. We have this. We have all these things that are going to keep you here and using this revolving door. That being said, that's a very sinister view of it. You could also view it in a more positive light. I get rewards because I'm responsibly using it. I'm using it for things that I know that I need. I'm responsibly, understanding my cash flow, and it's super easy for me to use. Like it's my credit card is the last resort that I'm not using it for emergencies, but I use it for small things, and I'm able to get some rewards from it. Okay, it's a tool. That's what you're using it for, not as something that you are, dependent upon.
100% of people who sign up for a credit card say to themselves, I'm going to be responsible with this.
Of course they do.
Only 45% carry a balance into each month, almost half. So great intentions, but if you're not a master with that tool, it will master you. Ultimately, the decision to use cash or credit depends on your personal financial situation and your goals, the end goal in mind. If you're trying to stick to a budget and avoid debt, using cash or a debit card may be the best option. But if you're looking to build your credit score, take advantage of some rewards, credit cards may be more beneficial.
Yeah.
It's up to you. But weigh those pros and cons that we talked about with each option, and you got to choose the one that works best for you.
Bottom line, you got to choose what's best for you and work it. You know what I mean? Like, be smart. Understand that you are the person who is controlling it. If you don't have control over this yourself, that's a personal thing that you got to figure out.
All right, give me a call to action.
Call to action. Y'all, you know what? We didn't even, check your credit cards. Think about your credit score. Like look at your credit score and just do a nice little analysis. Really dig deep. And what was my end goal of getting these credit cards, this credit card, this credit card? Do I need this store credit card? Is it really giving me enough value? Is it worth me putting my hard-earned dollars into this? Or is it something that I don't need right now? And really just do a cost analysis of it all. And if you're not willing to do that work, I don't know if you're responsible enough to have something like a credit card. You have to be willing to dig deep and understand what it is that you are buying into. So that's my CTA for you.
Love it. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today. This is the Graham Fam, Cash vs. Credit. Go, guys. Live in love, walk in wealth, make responsible choices. Take care, y'all.
Bye.